3 days before the inspection chamber. Rhea Mercer stood alone at the viewing window of Docking Bay 12, watching the Interstellar Academy rotate beneath her shuttle. Aurelium Academy. A ring of silver alloy and transparent crystal, suspended in orbit like a crown around the violet gas giant below. Shifting auroras danced across its surface, painting the station in colors that bled into the void. She tightened the strap of her pack and exhaled once. Slow, controlled. Every breath mattered. Around her, aliens whispered. That's her. A human. Deathworld species. The last whisper had weight. Terror disguised as science. Rhea ignored them and stepped through the docking gate. The grav plates adjusted beneath her boots, humming as they matched Earth-standard gravity for her body alone. Everyone else floated slightly above their own plates, lighter, optimized for their fragile skeletal structures. The corridor curved gently, lined with bioluminescent strips embedded in the walls. Students of dozens of species moved around her, crystalline beings whose joints clicked with every step, tall, feathered diplomats, gelatinous organisms sliding inside protective spheres. Each one made space for her. She wasn't surprised. Humans were rare here. Too rare. A chime sounded. A holographic panel flickered into existence before her. Welcome, Rhea Mercer, Aurelium Academy transfer student. Status, restricted access, special category, that label again. Special category. It appeared on every form, every data pad, every clearance. She closed the hologram with a swipe. A small, silver-skinned alien with large, curious eyes hovered nearby. It was barely 4 feet tall, wearing an academy badge. When it spoke, its voice warbled like wind passing over glass. Excuse me, are you really from Earth? Rhea glanced down. That's what my passport says. The alien blinked 3 times. Its version of surprise. You're the first from a Class 5 death world to ever attend this academy. Our world is Class 1. Our storms are mild and our water is safe to drink. Your planet has superheated oceans? Rhea cracked a faint smile. Not everywhere. It floated closer. Is it true that everything on your planet tries to kill you? Only the determined ones. She walked again. The alien zipped beside her, musical curiosity in its voice. What about... She shouldn't be here. The voice came from a towering reptilian student leaning against a pillar. His scales shimmered in metallic blue patterns. His species, Ralkar, were known for their strength and their arrogance. A small crowd gathered behind him, eyes fixed on Rhea as though she carried a pathogen. Humans aren't stable, the Ralkar sneered. Your kind picks fights with entire civilizations. You're unpredictable, violent. Rhea studied him without blinking. Her voice stayed level. Then avoid provoking me. The Ralkar bristled. The smaller alien tugged at her sleeve nervously. Rhea stepped past them. No confrontation. No escalation. But she felt every stare at her back. Dormitory. Section H, humanoid wing. A bored maintenance bot scanned her badges, then pointed a metallic arm toward the end of the hall. Her room was isolated. One door, separate ventilation, reinforced walls thicker than the others. Standard procedure for potentially hazardous sapients. When her door slid open, she stopped short, sterile. Perfect, impersonal. Bed, desk, 2 drawers. Nothing else. A datapad on the desk blinked. Mandatory compliance review. Orientation day at 0700. Verbal interview required. Her stomach tightened. Verbal. Rhea sat on the bed and laced her fingers together. Knuckles white. She had trained for silence since childhood. Not because humans were mysterious. Because her voice wasn't safe. Earth's naval scientists called it resonant frequency cascade. Aliens used a simpler term, neural rupture. A single unrestrained shout from a trained human could trigger migraines, seizures, even unconsciousness in species with delicate auditory nerves. So Rhea stayed silent. Silence protected everyone, including her. The door chimed. The small silver student floated in. I brought a welcome gift. It handed her a glowing orb. Inside, a tiny aquatic creature swam. It's a focus companion. It calms anxiety. I noticed you might need grounding. Rhea accepted the orb carefully. Thank you. The alien's voice dropped to a whisper. Be careful tomorrow. The principal hates your kind. The door slid shut, leaving Rhea staring at her own reflection in the orb's surface. Her dark eyes stared back, steady and unreadable. She slept with her fists clenched. Orientation day. Assembly hall. The amphitheater was massive, tiered seats spiraling upward like a stadium. Students of every species murmured in the dim blue light. When Rhea entered, silence spread as if sucked from the room. A tendril-bodied lecturer paused mid-sentence. Our newest transfer has arrived. Every eye locked onto her. Principal Varkon Threx stood at the center of the stage. Tall, skeletal. His skin carried faint blue veins, pulsing with psychic energy. His 5 black eyes blinked one after another like camera shutters. He smiled without warmth. Human, come forward. Rhea stayed still for half a second, not out of hesitation, out of choice. She descended the steps, boots striking the metal floor. Students leaned back to avoid brushing her. Varkon clasped his hands behind him. Earth sent you without proper psychological clearance. I passed all required evaluations. Not the ones that matter. A screen lit behind him, projecting a holographic document stamped with a bright red tag. Restricted. Human vocal neuroresponse. Subject's voice may induce involuntary psychic collapse. Gasps rippled around the hall. Varkon's voice sharpened. You will undergo a compliance inspection. You will answer questions verbally. Refusal will result in restriction of privileges and possible removal from this institution. The hall waited for her reaction. Rhea nodded once. Understood. A collective flinch swept the nearest seats, just from the sound of her voice. Even a whisper carried edge and resonance. Varkon leaned slightly forward. Your silence ends tomorrow. She looked him straight in the eyes. My silence protects you. The room froze. He recovered his composure with a thin smile. We'll see. Cafeteria? Noon. The cafeteria was open, circular, surrounded by transparent walls, showing the swirl of space outside. Rhea carried a tray with simple protein rations and coffee, the only earth beverage stocked. A table of 3 students tensed as she approached. You can sit here if you want, said the small silver alien from earlier. I'm Kylix, Rhea sat. Kylix's friends eyed her cautiously. Is it true humans wrestle wild predators for fun? Do your oceans really try to drown you? Rhea sipped her coffee. Sometimes. They stared at her like she'd just confessed to murder. Across the room, her gaze locked with Principal Varkon's through a wall of glass. He watched her with the patience of a predator. A message pinged her wristband. Mandatory inspection, tomorrow. At 0900 hours, location, compliance chamber. 7 verbal response required. Rhea finished her drink. She didn't shake. She didn't sweat. She simply thought one sentence. I will not speak for your entertainment. Night. Dormitory lights dimmed to soft violet. The station rotated on schedule, brewing artificial sunrise at the edge of the horizon. Rhea sat cross-legged on the floor, focusing on the orb. The tiny aquatic creature swam lazily, reflecting the steady rhythm of her heartbeat. Her grandmother's voice echoed in memory. Your voice is a blade. Wield it only to protect. She closed her eyes. Tomorrow she would enter that inspection room, and she would not speak. The corridor leading to Compliance Chamber 7 felt colder than the rest of Aurelium Academy, as though the station itself recoiled from the room. No windows, no murals, just steel and silence. Rhea walked with measured steps, backpack slung over one shoulder. 2 security officers escorted her. Their armor was thin, designed more for ceremony than protection, but both kept a noticeable distance. One officer, a tall insectoid being with translucent wings, cleared her throat. If you feel overwhelmed, please inform us. The inspection process can be unpleasant. Rhea nodded, saying nothing. Words carried consequences. She would not give them more fuel. When they stopped, the chamber doors scanned her retinal pattern and slid open. A breath of icy air rushed out. The interior resembled a medical theater, raised observation deck above, glass walls, a single metal chair bolted in the center. 3 recording drones hovered, projecting holographic readouts. In the observation deck, dignitaries and faculty watched in tense silence. Principal Varkon Threx stood on the lower floor, hands clasped behind him. His 5 black eyes studied her without emotion. "Human, take a seat," Rhea sat. They locked metal cuffs around her wrists, not tight, but symbolic. Containment. Threx activated a console. The drones tightened their orbit. "Begin protocol. Session recorded under Article 9 of Academy Safety Charter." A voice from above echoed through speakers. "All readings stable." Threx faced her, features sharp under the sterile lights. "Rhea Mercer, you are required to participate in a verbal identity verification. Your silence yesterday was a violation of regulation." Rhea held his gaze. "I spoke," she said. Her voice was low, even. A few aliens flinched, startled by the human resonance, rich, steady, unlike their soft or whistled frequencies. Threx pressed a button. Pain shot through the cuffs, sharp, bright, like a sudden claw at the nerves. Rhea's jaw tightened, but she refused to wince. "You will speak clearly and fully," he said. "Your voice must be recorded for neural mapping," the overhead observers murmured. Several shifted uncomfortably. One scholar whispered, "Mapping a human's voice wave is reckless," Threx heard. He smiled thinly. "Fear spreads easily among weak minds." He turned back to Rhea. "State your full identity," she inhaled. Slowly, controlled. "Rhea Mercer." Full designation, she. Stayed silent. A warning light blinked on Threx's console. "Verbal response required." He leaned closer, voice cold. "Refusal will result in disciplinary confinement." Rhea watched his eyes. He wanted reaction, wanted her to lash out. "You already know who I am," she said, tone even. "You've read every file." "That is not the point." He raised a hand. A faint psychic pressure pressed against her skull. Not pain, weight, like deep water squeezing around her temples. His species used telepathy. They prided themselves on reading thoughts like open books. He tried to breach her mind. Rhea's heartbeat stayed steady. "Your mental defenses are unusually disciplined," he murmured. He pressed harder. Pressure increased. She felt it crawl behind her eyes, searching for a crack to slip through. "Do not let him in." The voice wasn't his. It wasn't spoken. Her grandmother's training echoed. Rhea focused on the cold metal chair beneath her, on the texture of her cuffs, grounding herself with sensory detail. Threx frowned. "Fascinating. Most humans cave under level 2 pressure." The observer above spoke sharply. "Principal Threx, you are exceeding standard mental force." "Silence," he snapped. Rhea didn't blink. "You're not afraid of me." "You're afraid of what I represent." Threx's pupils contracted. He increased the psychic force. The air vibrated. The recording drones backed away, detecting a spike. Inside her skull, the pressure shifted from weight to intrusion, a clawing sensation trying to pry open memory, emotion, instinct. He wanted access to her voice trigger, her biological weapon. Rhea let her mind go still. Her pulse slowed. Breathing softened. Training. "Say your full Earth designation," Threx demanded. "Now," she whispered. "No." The lights flickered. Just one syllable, but the pitch carried microscopic resonance, subsonic vibrations that tickled the air like static. The monitoring panel spiked. Sonic interference detected. The overhead observers leaned back instinctively, gripping railings. Threx smiled as though she confirmed his theory. "There it is, power. You hide behind silence because you fear losing control." Rhea's fingers curled around the chair arms. "Not rage, focus. I protect others by staying silent." "You protect yourself," he countered. "You know what happens when you lose control." He tapped the console again. A recorded video played behind him, footage of a military training chamber on Earth. A much younger Rhea stood alone, surrounded by armored instructors. One shouted an order. She screamed back. Just a word. Every instructor collapsed. Rhea's reflection on the hologram watched herself in eerie stillness. Threx paused the footage. Your voice incapacitated an entire platoon. Earth classified you as hazard level gray. Why send someone like you to an academic institution? Rhea spoke quietly. To prove humans are more than their reputation. He stepped closer until their faces were only inches apart. Then say your name. Full designation. Show us control. Rhea exhaled once. The psychic pressure surged. Threx forced a mental spike at her cerebral cortex, attempting to trigger instinctive defense through voice. The air thinned, sound dulled. Her vision narrowed to a tunnel. Say it! Threx ordered. Voice cracking. Rhea whispered, Don't push. The room shook. The drone's sensors screamed in panic. Warning, resonance anomaly, bioacoustic frequency. Breach. Threx stumbled but stayed upright. More outraged than afraid. Full designation, now. She lifted her head, eyes steady. Voice barely audible. I said, don't push! This time her voice carried force. A ripple went through the air like a shockwave made of sound instead of motion. The overhead window shattered outward. Observers shielded themselves. Drones crashed to the floor, sensors offline. Threx tried to speak, but no sound emerged. He reached for the console. Pupils dilating. Panic washed over his face. Rhea stood slowly, her cuffs cracked and fell apart. She didn't touch them. The resonance had loosened their molecular locking mechanisms. Threx backed away. What are you? The room grew impossibly still. Rhea stepped forward, voice controlled. Human. That was restraint. Threx reached for the emergency override. Teleport pad activation. Rhea leaned in and whispered by his ear, breath steady. This is what happens when you push someone who knows how not to fight. A soft tone echoed. Gentle, almost polite. Flash. The teleport pad triggered without coordinating spatial vectors. Threx vanished, not teleported to another room. Not transported to detention, he disappeared like light swallowed by darkness. Silence followed. The door burst open. Security stormed in, weapons raised. One officer shouted, Where is Principal Threx? What did you do? Rhea looked at the scorch mark where he once stood. I warned him. No tremor in her voice. Only truth. Sirens echoed through the compliance wing. Red emergency lights pulsed along the corridors, painting the walls in violent flashes. Rhea stood motionless where Principal Threx had vanished, the teleport pad still warm beneath her boots. Dust floated in the air as drones sparked and crackled from blown circuits. Security officers surrounded her, weapons drawn. Hands where we can see them, one shouted. Rhea slowly raised her hands. No sudden movements. Her breathing remained steady. She wasn't afraid, only tired. The silver-skinned student, Kylix, suddenly pushed through the doorway, eyes wide. Rhea! An officer blocked the alien with one arm. No civilians allowed. Kylix ignored them and locked eyes with Rhea. What did they do to you? Rhea gave a small shake of her head. Nothing I didn't choose to endure. Before the officers could escort her out, a deep vibration rolled through the chamber, the hum of engines powering a long-range dock. Not Academy security ships. Government craft. A cold voice came over the station. PA, Galactic Concord Diplomatic Board has arrived. Do not interfere. The officers froze. That only happened during emergencies of the highest classification. Interrogation room. Level 5. The room was compact, minimalist. A single table, 2 chairs, reinforced transparent wall facing the void. Rhea sat alone. Her cuffs were reattached, though she doubted they mattered. They were a gesture of control, not security. A door slid open. 3 figures entered. A tall, silver-armored board director, cloak flowing like liquid metal. A jellyfish-like being suspended in an anti-gravity cradle, its species specialized in truth sensing. A slender humanoid with feather patterns around her jaw, recording everything on a datapad. The director sat opposite Rhea. Student Rhea Mercer, You are under inquiry regarding the disappearance of Principal Varkon Threx. Rhea met the director's gaze. He initiated a forced mental intrusion. He escalated despite warnings. The jellyfish being hovered closer, tentacles shifting color. It vibrated. Her words show no deception. The director tapped his fingers lightly. The teleport pad recorded dissonance in the spatial matrix. Whatever occurred, it wasn't standard teleportation. Rhea's voice stayed even. He forced a reaction. My voice displaced him. I didn't aim to harm. The feather-marked recorder looked up. Explain how your voice displaced him. Rhea hesitated. She could explain the way Earth's military had broken down what her resonance did, redirecting spatial energy, folding space for an instant. But that rationalization felt too polished, too clinical, too distant from what she lived. Instead, humans evolved to adapt. My voice adapts to threat. The truth-sensing jellyfish flared bright gold. Truth. But the director leaned forward, tone sharpening. Do you realize what this means? If weaponized, your voice could... Rhea cut in quietly. Humans aren't looking for conquest. We've survived too much to start pointless wars. The director studied her. Fear can drive empires to act preemptively. The Concord may consider isolation protocols. Quarantine Earth? Rhea's jaw tightened. For existing? The jellyfish pulsed violet, anger detected. The director steepled his fingers. To protect stability, we might require your cooperation. You could demonstrate your ability in a controlled environment. Rhea leaned back, expression flat. You want to test if you can control me? Silence. The truth-sensing jellyfish blushed deep blue. They didn't deny it. The director's voice softened, pretending sympathy. You must understand. Your presence threatens interspecies balance. Rhea's eyes hardened. I didn't threaten anyone. Threx did. That depends on perspective. Rhea exhaled slowly. Perspective didn't save him. The jellyfish flared gold, truth. The director stood. We will deliberate. Remain here. They filed out. The door sealed shut. Observation deck. Behind the mirror. Rhea couldn't see the observers, but voices carried faintly through the reinforced barrier. A high-ranking instructor spoke first. She destabilized our principal without touching him. What if she loses control in a crowded hall? Another answered. Or what if she prevents a war? Deathworlders have a history of unusual impact. Kylix's voice suddenly broke through the chatter, angry, uncharacteristically bold. She didn't start anything. Threx did. He wanted her to perform like some dangerous creature. Silence, student. No. She protected him. He pushed. She held back. Rhea closed her eyes briefly. Someone finally saw her. Interrogation room. Moments later, the door slid open again. But this time, only one person entered. A new figure, stature regal, eyes sharp, posture commanding. The others followed behind at a distance, but even they held their breath. This was not a diplomat, not a director, a Concord counselor. Their voice filled the quiet. Rhea Mercer, stand! Rhea stood. The counselor pressed a small holographic cube and projected the footage from the inspection chamber. Her whisper. The ripple. The flash. Threx vanishing. The counselor paused the video, with Rhea's face frozen mid-whisper. You could have annihilated him. Rhea held eye contact. I didn't. You displaced him. To where? I don't know. The counselor studied her carefully. When someone tries to hurt you, what guides your restraint? Rhea looked past the glass wall at the vast stretch of space. Someone once taught me that power isn't about proving what you can do. It's knowing when not to. The counselor exchanged a look with the board. Something shifted in the room. The inspection was an abuse of authority. You acted in self-defense, Rhea blinked. You believe me? The jellyfish being pulsed bright gold. She speaks the truth. The counselor turned to security. Remove the restraints immediately. The cuffs unlocked. Rhea rubbed her wrists. The cold metal left pale marks on her skin. Kylix burst into the room, breathless and panicked. Rhea, are they sending you away? The counselor answered instead. No, she stays. Kylix sagged in relief. Rhea finally spoke. What about Threx? The counselor chose words carefully. The investigation remains open. If he breached a spatial fold, he may return. Rhea nodded once. Calm. If he returns, I will speak only what truth requires. Academy atrium. Hours later. Doors opened to a wave of murmurs. Students gathered in clusters. Their expressions held something new. Not fear, recognition, respect. Kylix hovered at Rhea's side, practically vibrating in excitement. You should have seen the board's faces. They were terrified. You didn't raise a hand and still, Rhea raised an eyebrow. You're rambling, Kylix flushed silver. Right, sorry, students parted as Rhea walked. Not out of fear, but acknowledgement. One bold student, the reptilian Ralkar from her first day, stepped into her path. He looked at her without aggression. You could have lashed out. You didn't, Rhea didn't answer. Words needed care. Actions spoke louder. The Ralkar bowed, a gesture of respect on his world. Deathworlders choose restraint. Our academy will remember that. Slowly, others mirrored the gesture. 20 students, then 40. Rhea stood in the center of the atrium, the star-filled void visible through the ceiling glass. She spoke, not loud, but clear. Humans don't seek dominance. We seek belonging. But we will not be pushed aside. Her voice carried strength, but not power. Truth, not force. The room listened. For the first time since arriving, Rhea didn't need to hold her breath. She just breathed. 3 weeks later, the academy adjusted to Rhea's presence. Not fully. Whispers still followed her, but the tension had shifted. Students debated her actions in philosophy classes, studied her in xenopsychology labs, and tried not to stare when she passed by. Rhea tolerated it, better curiosity than fear. But the equilibrium felt fragile, like a glass sheet stretched too thin. Even without proof, instinct told her the quiet wouldn't hold, and she was right. Training deck, zero-G sphere, Rhea gripped the paddle handles of her propulsion belt. Kylix floated beside her, excited beyond reason. Zero-gravity maneuver practice. Don't humans love challenges? Rhea smirked. We tolerate them. The overhead hatch hissed. Lights dimmed. The floor vanished beneath them as the chamber's gravity switched to neutral. The world dissolved into slow motion. Kylix somersaulted, limbs flailing. Rhea pushed off gently, body rotating into a controlled arc. Across the chamber, the reptilian Ralkar observed her with respectful caution. Your center of balance is unsettling, he muttered. Humans shouldn't adapt that fast. Rhea eased into a hover. Practice. The word was simple, but it held meaning. Hours of microgravity drills during survival training on Earth's orbital facilities. Before Kylix could respond, an alarm erupted through the ship-wide intercom. All students return to your quarters. Security lockdown initiated. The lights shifted to scarlet. Rhea's body tightened. Kylix nearly dropped out of hover. What's happening? Rhea didn't answer. The knot of dread forming in her stomach was enough. A crackle of static cut through the speaker system. Unauthorized spatial event detected. Spatial event. Rhea knew exactly what that meant. The zero-G chamber returned to full gravity. Students thudded to the floor. Rhea landed and sprinted toward the exit, sliding past an instructor who tried to block her. Mercer, return to your quarters. No, Rhea pushed through. The instructor grabbed her arm. Reflex. The human part of her reacted faster than thought. Her hand snapped to his wrist, reversed the hold, and used momentum to slip out of reach. Her voice stayed calm. I'm not running. I'm going to stop something worse. She didn't look back. Level 6. Spatial research wing personnel rushed in frantic clusters. Holographic displays showed a swirling vortex forming inside a sealed teleport chamber. The vortex churned like warped glass. Fold space distortion in real time. Rhea approached the observation window. Kylix caught up, panting. Rhea, slow down. A tall, armored Concord guard stepped in her path. Restricted zone. Rhea's eyes didn't leave the vortex. He's coming back. The guard's posture stiffened. We cannot confirm. The vortex suddenly expanded, slamming against containment shields. Monitors shrieked warnings. The guard's helmet display flashed. Identity confirmed. Principal Varkan Threx Kylix whispered, terrified. He survived? The distortion compressed and discharged. Threx fell onto the metal floor of the chamber, alive, shaking, eyes wide with hysteria. His once impeccable uniform hung in shredded tatters. His claws dug into the metal as he scrambled upright. Rhea exhaled slowly. She felt his presence, unbalanced, volatile. Security surrounded the chamber. A conquered investigator tapped the glass. Principal Threx remained still. Varkan spun, eyes feral, and slammed his palm against the glass. The blow cracked the surface layer. Sparks burst from the lock panel. He looked thinner, eyes sunken, movements erratic. His voice scraped like tearing metal. "You did this!" Rhea stood still. Varkan's gaze pinned her like a weapon. "You displaced me. I saw void space, endless corridors of collapse. Do you know what's inside fold space?" Rhea remained silent. Nothing exists there. I walked for weeks with no time. No direction. You put me there." Kylix flinched at the volume. Rhea spoke quietly. "You forced resonance." "I warned you," Varkan snarled. "Your species is a contagion." He turned to the guards. "Let me out. She's unstable. She'll destroy this academy." The counselor arrived behind them. Calm. Steady. "We saw the footage, Threx. You caused the incident." Threx's voice cracked into desperation. "You don't understand. Humans are engineered by their planet to conquer." Rhea didn't flinch. Humans were shaped to survive. "That's not the same thing." Threx slammed the glass again, rage uncontained. "You don't belong among evolved civilizations." Rhea stepped forward, close enough that the cracked barrier reflected fragments of her face. "Belonging isn't something you grant. It's something we create." Threx trembled. "I will not let a Deathworlder replace me." He triggered an override, unauthorized. The chamber locks disengaged. The glass slid open. Security reached for weapons. Threx lunged. Rhea didn't move. She didn't raise her hands. She simply breathed. Kylix panicked. "Rhea, say something." She did. Not loud, not powerful, just firm. "Stop." The resonance wasn't force, it was intention. A controlled, razor-thin vibration of sound waves. Varkan froze mid-lunge, limbs locked in place. His pupils shrank. The guards stood stunned. Rhea held him in place with nothing but her voice. "You fear humans because we survived something you can't imagine. Not war, not conquest." Her tone softened. Not pity, but truth. We survived ourselves. Slowly, she released the resonance. Varkan collapsed to his knees, breath ragged. The counselor stepped forward. "Principal Varkan Threx, by decision of the Concord Council, you are relieved of authority. You will undergo full psychological rehabilitation." Varkan shook with disbelief. "You're choosing her over me?" The counselor didn't hesitate. "We are choosing reason over fear." Guards moved in. Varkan was escorted away, still staring at Rhea as if she were an unsolvable equation. Atrium. Later students gathered again, murmuring in surprise as Rhea stepped into the open space. Kylix hovered at her side, eyes gleaming with pride. The counselor addressed the academy. "Humanity is no longer restricted on Aurelium Station. Rhea Mercer will serve as liaison between Earth and the academy. Her voice is not a weapon. It is a choice." Rhea stood before hundreds of students and faculty. For the first time, she chose to speak. "Power isn't found in how loudly we can force others to listen." She paused. The hall waited. "Real power is knowing when to say nothing and when to speak." Silence followed. Then applause. Not fear, respect. Kylix bumped her arm lightly. "Rhea, you just changed the way the galaxy sees humans." Rhea allowed herself a rare, genuine smile. "No, we changed it. Because restraint wasn't weakness. It was the greatest strength humanity ever learned.